Just take a look at a facility like this one. It's incredible, right? Thousands of moving parts, complex procedures, non-stop activity. It's a total marvel of engineering. But all that complexity, it holds a huge potential for risk. Every single valve, every switch, even just one person handing over their shift to the next, each one is a point where things can go perfectly right or, well, terribly wrong. So what is it? What's the thing that separates a totally normal day from a catastrophe that makes the evening news? Well, I can tell you it's not some magic piece of tech. It's a disciplined, structured way of approaching every single task. And that is the very problem that conduct of operations is built to solve. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll nail down what operational discipline even means. Then we'll see how it's a huge part of managing risk. After that, we'll get into the 5 key elements, zoom in on communication and monitoring, and then wrap it all up by talking about why this really comes down to culture. So let's jump right in. All right, first things first, let's get a really clear handle on what we're actually talking about here. So the official definition, straight from our source material, is this. The key words you really need to latch onto here are deliberate and structured. See, this isn't about just rushing through a checklist. It's about being intentional. It's about having a real method behind everything you do. But if we boil that all down, what are we really saying? It's one word: discipline. It's about the commitment, the deep down commitment to doing the right thing the right way every single time, especially when you think no one is looking. Now, this idea of discipline, it doesn't just exist on its own, in a bubble. It's actually a super critical piece of a much larger system that's designed to keep both people and processes safe. And this image just illustrates it perfectly. What you're looking at is a model of a process safety management system. See those foundational blocks at the bottom? Well, look right there, smack in the middle, holding up the whole manage risk section. That's conduct of operations. It is not an add-on. It's fundamental. You pull that pillar out and the entire structure gets weak. You know, what's so fascinating here is the direct connection between just being good at your job and being safe. The exact same human errors, taking shortcuts, not communicating clearly, a lapse in judgment, the stuff that causes productivity to dip, those are the very same things that lead to major safety incidents. So when you get better at one, you automatically get better at the other. Okay, so we've got a good grip on what operational discipline is and why it's a huge deal. But how do you, do it? Let's break it down into 5 key elements. It all comes down to these 5 principles. Think of this like your roadmap. You've got to have dependable practices, control over what's happening and the status of your gear, the right skills in your people, and then a way to actually check if you're doing it right. Let's unpack each one. First up, maintain dependable practices. This is so much more than just writing a procedure manual that ends up collecting dust on a shelf. This is about making sure your procedures are clear, they're correct, and people are actually using them. The whole point is to make the right way the easiest and most natural way to do the job. Number 2, control operations activities. Think of this like being an air traffic controller for the facility. Who's allowed to do what and where? It's about managing all the moving pieces in real time. This is why things like permit-to-work systems are so vital. They would stop a welding crew from working right next to painters using flammable liquids. Without this control, you just have chaos. Third is controlling the status of your systems and equipment. This means everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to be on the same page. Is that pump offline for maintenance? Is that valve locked out for safety? This info has to come from a single, trusted source that everybody can see. One tiny error here, like one outdated status on a control screen, could have immediate, dangerous results. All right, number 4 gets into the human side of things. Develop required skills and behaviors. You can have the best procedures in the world, but they're totally useless if your team isn't trained or is unsure of what to do. This is all about getting people from a place of confusion and potential mistakes to a place of confidence, competence, and solid teamwork. And finally, our 5th principle, monitor organizational performance. How do you know if any of this stuff is actually working? You can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. You have to measure it. That means you're out there actively looking for compliance through audits, field checks, and tracking key metrics. It's about closing the loop to make sure standards are being met and catching problems before they blow up. So all 5 of those are obviously crucial, but let's double-click on one area that connects them all. And it's a place where things can go wrong really, really fast. Communication. It sounds so basic, doesn't it? But the data is crystal clear.
A huge number of incidents can be traced right back to a simple breakdown in communication. Somebody didn't get the message, or the information they got was wrong or incomplete.
And here are two major hotspots for that breakdown. First, shift handovers. The crew coming in needs a flawless picture of what just happened. A structured, written logbook is a simple but incredibly powerful tool for this. Second, communication between different groups, like operations and maintenance. Writing things down is absolutely vital here to cut down on misunderstandings, especially during high-risk times like startups or shutdown.
So, you've got your procedures, you've got your communication tightened up, but how do you make sure people are actually following them? Well, that brings us right back to that fifth element we talked about, monitoring and accountability. This quote from our source really just nails it. The whole goal is to make good performance something you can actually see and measure. This isn't about playing the blame game. It's about setting clear standards for how people should behave and then holding everybody, and that means at every level, accountable for meeting those standards. And that leads us to our final and honestly, probably the most important point of all. This stuff can't just be a list of rules that you push down from the top. For operational discipline to actually stick, it has to be way more than a system. It needs to be stitched into the very fabric of the company's culture. It has to become just the way we do things around here. It's a value that everyone shares, from the newest person on the floor all the way up to the CEO. So we'll leave you with this question to think about for your own workplace. Is operational discipline just a line item in a manual, a box to check off during an audit? Or is it a real living value that's embedded in your culture, driving every action and every decision? Because as we've just seen, the answer to that question, it makes all the difference in the world.